And with me now is North Carolina Congressman Mark Walker. Congressman, thanks for stopping in.
Thanks, Patrick. Always a privilege to be here.
All right. As a member of the Committee on Homeland Security, I do want to get your thoughts on the developments in dealing with Iran in just a moment. But first, opportunity zones and economic development. It's the focus of the White House and two Republican lawmakers from the Carolinas, yourself and Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. Now, this week, you guys are making a push to lift up low-income communities across the Tar Heel State by pushing a little tax relief and a little incentive for investors to invest in these areas. And this is all, of course, on the coattails of President Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Congressman, tell us about these designated opportunity zones.
Sure. We have 252 total in the state of North Carolina. These are zones, whether it's in North Carolina or other states, where investors can come in and get a 10-year break on the capital investments that they are making. It's another example of President Trump and Republican members of Congress doing everything they can to reach out to underprivileged community, to impoverished areas. Republicans are leading on this. Democrats, under the Obama administration, had many years to see how they could reach out. They did not. This is a win number two, big win for the president and for members of Congress, not just from the political side of things, but this is something that's been needed for many times and many years, specifically in these areas, and I'm happy to partner with Senator Tim Scott in trying to bring some relief.
Well, with 2020 right around the corner, sometimes you can't deny the political ramifications there. But this week, the Trump administration proposed regulatory changes to how poverty is calculated and defined by the Census Bureau. Now, if those changes go through, fewer families in these opportunity zones would qualify for government benefits. So how do those efforts, how do the efforts of the opportunity zones and your efforts square with this?
Well, the bottom line is this. We want to make sure that these are legitimate areas where there is struggling for decades, sometimes even longer than that, to make sure that those resources are going into places to lift up some of these areas. Some of the viewers may be familiar with the terms like food desert and other places. We want to make sure that high-end grocery stores, that other workforce development areas or companies have an opportunity to go into these communities and do their very best to hire the talent, but to have an incentive to do something where otherwise they may have not.
All right, and you mentioned the Obama administration a moment ago. According to the Trump administration, the new White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, headed by Ben Carson, will be working to remove barriers for revitalization efforts in low-income areas. So what barriers have the people in your district, the people of Greensboro, North Carolina, what have they been dealing with?
Well, what they've been dealing with is many places you have, for example, malnourishment among children. We have 67% of children in our school district there in Guilford County that show up to school hungry. These are problem areas that specifically fall under the jurisdiction of Ben Carson. Ben is leading in this area, and it's another example where even though the narrative, and you probably won't hear this on any other press outlet than OAN, this is another example where Republicans are not turning a blind eye that the left tries to get the general public to believe, but this is simply an area where Republicans are saying there is an issue here. We're not going to look the other way. We're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to bring some solutions.
All right, and again, Senator Tim Scott and you have an event this Friday dealing with this down in Greensboro. I like to, as a Carolina guy, I like to see North and South Carolina working together always. Now, Congressman, I do want to switch gears quickly. You do sit on the Committee on Homeland Security. It's the one-year anniversary of President Trump leaving the Iran deal. Defense officials say that there are Iranian forces who are preparing to attack U.S. forces in that region of the world. There are U.S. aircraft carriers responding. So what could happen here in your mind? What should happen? Are we moving beyond just sanctions to squeeze their economy?
It is possible. I do serve currently as the ranking member on terrorism and counterintelligence, so we are certainly monitoring Iran. To be able to get a proper assessment of this, Patrick, you have to go back a few years ago to see how we got here under the leadership or lack thereof of President Obama, Joe Biden, and John Kerry, who were the big drivers of giving Iran hundreds of billions of dollars to the Ayatollahs. In fact, you had to get them off the street long enough chanting death to America and death to Israel to even work out the agreement. This is is a backlash. They've run out of that cash. A lot of that we have documented went to Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist groups that now are becoming a problem. We've seen this even recently of what Israel's having to deal with. At this point, we are monitoring their behavior. I applaud President Trump, instead of going on an apology tour, of showing signs of strength to the Middle East, specifically to really Iran, the largest state-sponsored terrorism country in the world.
All right, and as we go here, is this the right amount of pressure that you're seeing with this this fleet of carriers headed in that direction? Are you comfortable with the amount of pressure, or do you want to see more pressure?
I think, listen, if several warships are coming my direction, I'm going to feel a little pressured by it. We hope that Iran does as well.
All right, Congressman Mark Walker of North Carolina, as always, sir, we appreciate your time.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.